What's up, y'all? Ace here. Kizazi Moto has released on Disney Plus. And if you don't know about it, it is a collection of animated shorts from the continent of Africa by the creators of various places, various countries, various regions, and various animation styles. Movies like the Animatrix or collections like the more recently Star Wars Visions, kind of in that same spirit where every animated short is animated differently, different character style, art style, and production team. And there's a lot of excitement around this. I feel like it's not getting enough exposure, but that's just me. And I want to contribute as much as I can because I think this is a huge leap. Because when you think of animation, you're probably either going to think of America, Japan, or Korea, like for the most part. And I feel like Africa has been overlooked, and I know a lot of people would agree with me on that, which is why an initiative like this is so instrumental and important, not just for the creators in Africa themselves, but for the rest of the world who again would overlook that there is so much potential in this entire continent of stories. And you've seen it with how I talk about Wakanda and the idea of Wakandaverse and all the different stories that just kind of fit into this one fictional thing that isn't even indigenous to the continent of Africa. It's been pulling and adapting from different places, but it hasn't really been told by African people who have that experience. And that's kind of the separation between Afrofuturism and African futurism, right? So I'll get into the first episode that I watched, and I'll do reviews on the other episodes as I watch them, but so far I've just watched one. So the first one is called Herderboy. All right, it's by a creator named Raymond Malinga, who is from Uganda, has his own production company in Uganda, and yeah, let's get into it. So, Herderboy, off topic, you already know like there's like a shepherd concept, or you can imagine that there's a shepherd concept, and that's exactly what it is. And when I first realized that it was a shepherd story, I'm like, oh, this is cool, because being a shepherd is probably one of the oldest professions. I mean, I don't know where gardening is in that scale, but I feel like we grew up on shepherd stories. In the Bible there are shepherd stories, and that's how they taught religion and everything like that. But yeah, being a shepherd is a pretty big deal. So it's great that story has been kind of renewed and retold. I think that there's a lot of other stories to pull from, but they chose this one in particular. I think this was like the perfect one to lead with, because again, it's one of the oldest professions. And so this young boy, Ndahara, he's a stowaway amongst a bunch of like professional herders. Like they do something besides herding. I guess the cattle that they herd, they have like cyborg implants, and when they consume some type of resource from the environment, it gives them it helps crystals grow on their horns, and then the crystals are harvested and used for technological components. Also, let's talk about the team, and I'm not gonna have too many clips because screen recording with Disney Plus just doesn't work. So just try to use your mind as much as you can, and then of course go watch the show. And so just to talk about the professional herders. The one, she's a sister, has a staff, she's pretty tough. The other guy, he's bulky, he's buff, he's pretty cool. He has like these swords that he pulls out that like are pretty much just laser swords, if you will. And then the third one is a complete robot, but he has an African accent. And when I saw this robot, I was like, I don't know if I've ever seen an African robot, or more so even a robot that had an African accent. So I thought that was very fascinating. And all it is just a hat. Like, he doesn't have a head, he's just like a hat and then a body, which I thought was pretty cool. So I guess they harvest these crystals for their, I mean, we haven't really got to see the world. Again, this is a 15-minute short, so you're only going to see so much. But they explain, like, yes, these little gems help power our world. And so the young boy who's aspiring to be a herder himself, he brings like this little calf with him, and he's trying to flex. He's trying to be like, yo, I'm one of y'all. I want to be like one of you. And they kind of they sort of brush him off because the sister who's in charge, that's her younger brother. So that's an interesting dynamic right there. And then the antagonist of the story apparently is this another like cyborg beast thing that they refer to as spirits. And one of these things wakes up and snatches the little goat that the boy brought with him. Um, it's pretty fascinating. Like, he has his own staff and everything. He tries to connect it and command the goat the same way the pro herders are connected to the cattle, and it doesn't quite work well. But I guess him doing that wakes up one of these spirits, and one of the spirits snatches up the little goat. And so, so then a chase sequence, and I don't want to share too much, but yeah, that's kind of the setup for this story. And yeah, it's a great story. I love that it was the first entry, and just what I've seen from the little tidbits of the rest of the shorts, like I'm really excited for what else comes. There's also some interviews on Raymond and the other creators who are part of the whole Kizazi Moto collection, so I think you should definitely check those out. But listen, again, this is a super huge opportunity. It gets eyes in the right places, and there's a whole continent of lore and stories that are just waiting to be uncovered, and I'm glad that this series exists for that very purpose. Perhaps I'll try to use some of the material for Wakanda Alliance, if I can do proper research on all the material and everything like that. I think even that's going to be fun, so I'm excited to see what else Kizazi Moto has to offer. But that's episode 1. If you haven't checked it out, again, go check that stuff out. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you have watched it, try to keep it spoiler free. But let's have a good conversation about these wonderful titles coming out of this series. So, see you soon.